Welcome back to another episode of the Pain, Performance, and Pohada podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Nick Smith. I'm a licensed physical therapist and strength and conditioning coach for jiu-jitsu and other combat athletes. Today, we're going to talk about a very controversial topic. It's something that's been brought up since the dawn of time, and things have evolved so much. This topic comes up in a lot of other sports, but especially with jiu-jitsu. And that topic is warm-ups. Warm ups. If you're a purple belt, I'm going to ask you to lock in and I'm going to hear me out. Okay. Because you actually might want to hear what I have to say today since you guys like to skip your shit anyway. Warm ups are something that if you're young, you've completely just ignored them, really. You're like, fuck that. I don't need to warm up. Maybe you'll just take a hot lap, run around, you've played some other sports. It might just be like running around the field, dribbling around if you play basketball, whatever. Warm up. You're like, I'm warm. Let's go. And then when it comes to jujitsu, you kind of have like, if you're young, we'll skip this. You're young, you don't really warm up. Then you start being riddled with injuries. You get a little bit older. You become kind of dusty like I am. You're a master's athlete now. You've sustained some things. You got some miles on the car, so to say. And all of a sudden, you're like, fucking warm ups are my life now. I spend more time warming up and cooling down than I do working out, right? Just to kind of like allow you to participate in the activity that you're doing. And when it comes to jujitsu, I've seen and experienced a lot of different trains of thought when it comes to warm ups. And I'm going to tell you there's a little bit of nuance to my personal opinion on warm ups based on what I've seen in the literature regarding actual exercise. And then when it comes to actual skill development, because I think those are where we're going to split things off. Now, I know I'm going to get crucified probably by some of the upper belts and maybe some guys that were more old school. And I understand where you're coming from with this, but I'm going to ask that you keep it open mind. And where I'm coming from is very objective. Warm ups, traditional warm ups for jujitsu, seem to be this kind of array of let's jog around the mats in line of ranking belts, preceded by some various movements. And these movements could be anything from shrimping, forward rolls, backwards rolls, takedowns, sprawling, all the different stuff. And occasionally you duel up in partners and do some drill across the mats. And I've seen it because it happens at my gym. I've seen it at many other gyms. If you're more of a traditional place, that's where it's going to happen. Nothing wrong with that. Then you have some other people who just don't show up at all, right? Their warm up is rolling a blunt and hitting the Benjamin and coming in high as balls, stinky, and just instructors already started their lesson and they're like, "Fuck it, I'm warmed up. I'm high as balls. Let's run this." And then there are some people, and this is really where I'm trying to advocate more, is like your warm up is a lot more personal to what you need. So if you are somebody who sustained some injuries in the past, you're spending a few minutes of your own time dedicated to the specific joints, areas of pain that really need it. If you've got a knee problem or had a knee problem, you might have a series of movements that you do before you warm up, before doing the class warm up. I don't have an issue with the traditional warm up, the shrimping, all that stuff, but I really do believe it should be dedicated more towards the beginner. If you're in a beginner class, some of the things that are being done during those drills is an opportunity for skill acquisition. This is a skill acquisition, skill based sport. If you are a white belt, you are in a beginner class, you should be doing those types of warm ups because every single time you do a shrimp with good quality, not focusing on trying to get across the mats fast so the person behind you can actually doing them with good quality, I think that is a really appropriate time to do the traditional old school warm up. I love that for a beginner class. I see it all the time where hip escapes, takedowns, everything looks terrible. And it's really important to be able to get good at those things. So, an opportunity to practice not just under live drilling, but by yourself. It's something you can practice at home. Solo drills are really important to be able to do things properly, being taught how to execute them properly, and not just like, hey, look what everybody else is doing in the line before you. I know you've never taken this class before, but fucking do it. Send it. So being able to do the old school warm up is appropriate for beginners. If it's a beginner's class, I have no issues with it. As we get to an all levels, advanced class, competition class, I think the athlete should be more responsible for their own personal warm up. And that's where I referred back to your own previous injuries. If you don't have a current injury, having a little subset of exercises that gets your full body prepared. Um, I happen to run the warm ups for the morning class that I go to. And during that time, we spend about five, 5 to 7 minutes usually of some various activation exercises. If there were more, if I wasn't in charge of that, I would recommend 3 to 5 minutes usually to each athlete, focusing on what area needs work. If you're training at 6 a.m. like I do, we need everything woken up. It's like, I just got out of bed. I barely got half a cup of coffee in me. Let's make sure these old bones are moving. So, my warm ups that I run are a lot of activation exercises through a full range of motion for everything: neck, shoulder, spine, hips, knee, ankles, toes, everything. During that time, everybody feels pretty woken up. And then the true warm up, and this is what I want to dive into, is drills. Um, when it comes to lifting, when it comes to jujitsu, the best warm up is doing the sport or the activity that you're doing at a speed that you can handle at that time. That does not mean go in there and go at 100% right off the bat and open up with a flow roll. The flow roll turns into 100% all out war. That's not what I'm saying. In an ideal world, this is what I would recommend to almost every single grappler, barring if you are a beginner, I would add the step of the beginner workout, then this. Doing a series of exercises, like I mentioned, 3 to 5 minutes on warming up the joints that you need to do the sport. Then grab a partner and start doing some various drills. Switch off every minute or so and spending about, maybe let's get another 5 minutes doing drilling, going through all various different positions, some passing, some guard retention stuff. So that way you're kind of warming up the whole body and you're doing it at a controlled speed. You're allowing yourself to kind of feel how the joints are feeling at that moment. If something feels kind of shitty at the time, taking note of it. And then as you get more warmed up, progressively increase the intensity. So, you have a minute to do these drills. Maybe the first 15 seconds, you're doing them at 25, 50%, right? And then as it gets closer, you're speeding it up, speeding up, speeding up, speeding up, speeding up. By the time you've hit your fourth or fifth drill, then you're getting into it. You're going pretty quick. That's how I think you should warm up. And then structure of a class, that's up to the coach. I have my biases on that, but we'll save that for another day. That's how you should be getting ready, prepared for the activity. If you're in the gym and you're warming up, like I said, 3 to 5 minutes doing some specific joint work that you need for whatever region is problematic. And then if you're doing squats, go squat. You might start with your body weight, then add the bar, progressively overload, add more weight to it till you get to your working sets. That's how you should warm up. If you're doing your first set and you're like, shit, knees feeling a little more sticky, go do that drill again. Make sure it feels loosened up and then get back under the bar. Lift, do another set of warm ups at the same weight until it feels fine. Then add everything up. Joints, address those first. Then do your sport, whatever the activity is, lifting, jujitsu, at a slow, reduced rate. And then progressively increase that rate based on what your body's allowing you to do. It should be very quick. You should not be spending 30 minutes laying on a foam roller. You should not be doing 30 minutes of activation exercise. That's fucking insane. Spend a little bit of time, make sure your body is ready, respect what is going on for that day. Sometimes you're going to have these little pains, these aches. Totally normal. Address them. Jump into your sport. Do the thing. But make sure your body's ready. Don't send it cold. Don't jump in without warming up. Find that little sweet spot. For some of you, you don't know what to do. You don't know what to do in those 3 to 5 minutes. I can help you with that. If you're somebody who's like, I don't know what to do with my shoulder, I've had this issue, I just need like a series of movements that really like make sure that I feel ready. If you're somebody who's dealing with that, any body region, shoulder, knee, neck, back, if you're like, hey, I've had this problem before, I recommend getting an evaluation done. During that evaluation time, they can see where the limitations are for you. You can, let your therapist know, hey, this is where I have limitations in my game. I don't feel comfortable here with this technique. I stopped doing knee cuts because my knee hurts. Be able to rifle through those things, do an assessment, do the movement series, be able to see what specifically is wrong. And then the physical therapist can reverse engineer where you want to be, giving you a series of movements that you can do, maybe some different tips in terms of your strength and conditioning to bring those things up to speed. And then you have your one size fits you warm up. During that warm up, that's the thing you're going to spend your 3 to 5 minutes on. You can do it before you lift, you can do it before you train. That way, it's always yours, it's always in your back pocket. Warm up, get ready, do your thing. That's my little blurb on warm ups. Hopefully, it wasn't too controversial. Purple belts, get your ass out there. Smoke your weed 5 minutes before, then go warm up with us. Spend a little bit of time with us. Get those bodies ready, do your sport, move it and move on. Till next time, another episode of the Pain, Performance, and Pohada podcast. See you then. See you.